All right, shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and of the great millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. On the brother I Na from GMS Dallas. And I got the elder Yatazak here from GMS Dallas as well. All right. And today we're going to continue the lesson or the series of lessons that we're doing on the book of Second Esdras. Today we're on chapter 10. So we left off when you go to the end of chapter 9, starting at around, see what verse it was, verse 38. Okay, it's best to read, back chapter 9, verse 38, and then read it on down through the end of the chapter and continue it in chapter 10. Okay. Check out the previous lesson that we did on the second half of chapter 9. All right, we're going to continue here with this conversation between the woman and Ezra. All right, without further ado, unless you had any points of comment before we get started.
Nah, we good. Let's rock.
All right, cool. Second Ezra chapter 10 and verse 1. And again, this is the woman in the middle of the conversation, with Ezra and the woman, like she's basically continuing what she said. Matter of fact, let me read like the last verse here. All right, this is Second Ezra chapter 9 and verse 47. It says, so when he grew up and came to the time that he would have a wife, I made a feast. Okay. And again, this woman, all right, which is going to the angel is going to break it down later on in the chapter, but the woman represents Zion. Okay. And the son represents the temple. Okay. And so the temple was established in, Jerusalem, right? And when you continue on in verse 10 or chapter 10 and verse 1, okay, it was established for a time, right? So imagine the analogy of a son, being born and then, growing up, to a certain age to basically the time where he's ready to get married. Okay, as a young man, it's a certain period of time, which represents the amount of time that the first temple, we'll say, because it was rebuilt, but the first temple, endured in the city of Jerusalem, right, with the Ark of the Covenant and everything in there. So continuing on in verse 1, it says, and it so came to pass that when my son was entered into his wedding chamber, he fell down and died. Okay. Again, the temple, the death of the son represents the destruction of the first temple. Okay. And that was during the Babylonian Empire, which this Ezra was, he was alive during the Babylonian and Medo-Persian Empire, right? It says in verse 2, then we all overthrew the lights, and all my neighbors rose up to comfort me. So I took my rest unto the second day at night. Okay. If you find out that your child dies, um, there's obviously going to be heavy levels of grief, and so this is a woman explaining, initially, she had, grief, right? First reaction of a dying son. Okay. And people tried to, comfort her. Okay. Enduring for a time. Okay. Right. It says in verse 3, and it came to pass when they had all left off to comfort me, to the end I might be quiet, then I rose up by night and fled, and came hither into this field as thou seest. All right. Now, again, this is a real interaction that Ezra was having with a woman. Okay. However, he didn't. It was it wasn't an actual woman that was a natural woman. Okay.
Right.
Um, and so he didn't understand this at the point yet. He's basically hearing this and taking it for face value. Um, Now I want to get this precept in. I want to say it's in Sirach regarding mourning of the dead. Okay, get this real quick, and then we'll go back to Second Ezra 10. This is Ecclesiasticus, or the book of Sirach, chapter 38 and verse 16. It says, "My son, let tears fall down over the dead, and begin to lament, as if thou hast suffered great harm thyself. And then cover his body according to the custom, and neglect not his burial. Weep bitterly, and make great moan, and use lamentation, as he is worthy. And that day, and that a day or two, lest thou be evil spoken of, and then comfort thyself for thy heaviness." And I'll read verse 18. It says, for of heaviness cometh death, and the heaviness of heart breaketh strength. So, basically that first 2 days where you go back to verse 2 and Second Ezra 10, right? Those the first 2 days, they were grieving, you know what I mean? She tried to get over it, according to this scripture, okay? But you're not supposed to continue past a certain time, right? You're not supposed to continue uh to mourn forever and ever. People, they mourn the death of their family member for years and years and years. What the
Yeah, I
scripture
say it's
says.
like what 7 days, I believe.
Yeah, 7 days.
Yeah, then you got people that's going. I would say you got people that's going to the grave site every year and shit. But
Yeah, yeah,
you got
yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, it's because, well, you got to think about it. You got to bury the body before it starts to decompose. Think about how long can you leave out raw meat until it starts to stink like hell, you
Right.
know? So after that second and third day, like, you better go ahead and get it over with and get that burial done. And once the body's buried, you know what I'm saying? You know, what I mean? Like, that's like, you gotta accept that. And so as the spirit that Ezra was in, was like, shit, I've been fasting this long. She over here uh lamenting about her son, right? And he's gonna comment on it, but I'm gonna continue reading here. Okay, because Ezra is going to respond to this. It says in verse 4, all right, Second Ezra 10 and 4, right? Again, you read verse 3, it says she got up out of the city, right, and fled, to the field where Ezra was. It says verse 4, and I do now purpose not to return into the city, but here to stay, and neither to eat nor drink, but continually to mourn and to fast until I die. Okay, and again, according to that scripture we just read in Sirach 38, all right, for of heaviness cometh death, and the heaviness of the heart breaketh strength. Okay, and so uh, you know, you're not supposed to. It's like you're not supposed to be grieving forever. Okay. So let's go back here. It says verse 5. Then left I the meditations wherein I was, and spake to her in anger, saying, now this is Ezra replying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Thou foolish woman above all other, seest thou not our mourning and what happeneth unto us? Right? He's talking about the affliction of Israel. Okay. It says, how that Zion, our mother, is full of all heaviness and much humbled, mourning very sore. And he said, and is spiritual. He says Zion, our mother, which this woman represented the mother of the mother. Well, the mother represented ultimately Zion, I should say, which is Jerusalem, the city, it's a combination of the people and the place, because the Ark of the Covenant and the first temple, which represented, the woman's son, okay, in this interaction, that was located in a physical place, okay, but it was located in that place specifically because that's where the people dwelt that worship the Lord. So it's a dual, it's a double meaning. So I want to get some scriptures, all right, because you hear people talk about, you know, like, Jake that's into the, African shit, you know what I mean? The motherland, Africa is the motherland, all that bullshit, right? But really, Jerusalem is, well, the scripture says, I'm gonna get it real quick. Um, in Galatians 4, okay, and 26. I did have a couple of scriptures lined up before we started. So Galatians 4 and
Uh-huh.
26, it says, but Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. Okay. And again, this
I was
this
like,
is
can you pull that word for mother?
yeah, kind of, yeah. That's why I wanted to get, I'm gonna go ahead and get it real quick. The mother, okay, that word there's G3384. It says ma- matare, matare, yeah. Um, Here we go. Metaphor, it could be literally a mother, but the metaphor of the source of something or the motherland. You see, the motherland. So the land where we were born. In Hebrew, that word is Amma. Okay, you got Abba, which is father, and Amma, which is mother. Let's see here. Yeah, that's it. Straight to the point. Okay, the motherland or the source. All right, the land of our nativity. I'll say it like that.
Uh,
You know, the land of our nativity. So, um, going back here, okay, it says Jerusalem is the mother of us all. So that's the breakdown on that. Okay, going back to Second Ezra's 10 and 7 again, how that Zion, our mother, is full of all heaviness and much humbled, mourning very sore. And now, seeing we all mourn and are sad, for we are all in heaviness, art thou grieved for one son? You see? So he's like, look, I mean, we all in captivity. We all going through it. It's just like Jake coming to the camp saying, man, every week you ask him how you doing. Yeah, man, yeah, I'm catching hell, man. I'm catching hell. Oh, I mean,
that was just
shit.
like Elder Ariala did that video last week. He said, stop being a little bitch. Yeah, stop being a little bitch, bro. Don't nobody care. We all catch your hell. You know what I'm saying? I love you. I pray for you. You know what I'm saying? I
Mhm,
get it, but I'm not finna listen to that shit though.
mhm. It's like,
Yeah, I want to say you got 5 minutes to vent. After that, if we ain't talking about solutions,
yeah, I don't want to hear it.
yeah, this conversation is over.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, uh, because she was basically, the woman was like, look, I'm gonna come out here to the point of death, and Ezra's like, well, shit, we all have family members that have died. You know what I'm saying? And if we was all in that spirit, I mean, shit, we wouldn't make it. You know. So, there was another scripture I wanted to get real quick in Psalms 137. Let me organize these. All right, Psalms 137 and 1, right? 1 through 4. It says, by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. You see? Um, Let me get that word Zion, because you could think like, dang, what does it mean, Zion? There was not a specific city named Zion. Why the hell isn't it scrolling down? What's going on? Okay, there we go. On the map. you know, but it represents Jerusalem as it says here. That word there is Tazayawan. Um, I don't really like the definition that it has here as parched place. It really means monument, um,
And
sign, post.
at one point, it was a parched place. That's why the Lord had to pour water on us. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Going into the dry bones.
con. I agree. I agree. You're right. Um, I guess I'm like the literal definition means a monument. Um, it says signpost because that's the same word here, Tazayawan, um, which means monument. And let's go back here.
Yeah,
Okay,
he remembered us and poured water on us so we could be revived.
right.
That living water, yeah, that living water that we needed so desperately was provided, you know, because I
Okay.
would say we was done. Like
Oh
when
yeah.
Ezekiel was when the Lord was asking, can these bones live? Ezekiel was like, man, only you know, Lord, because if we basing it off what I'm seeing, scared
Hmm.
like a bitch.
Right. Right. I want to get this here. Let's go into it since we're talking about it. In the lexicon. All right, Tazayawan. It'll break it all down. It says a sunny place, a sunny mountain from the root Tazaha. Um, let's see here. Let's see. The city was, we know the city was built on a hill. That's in the scriptures. You know, so like if you imagine a place that's higher elevated than other places, then it would receive more sun, which could lead to it being, sunny, right? And ultimately, if it gets a lot of sun, then it'll be dry. It can be parched. Uh, right. It says, let's see here on the city. It says it included the more ancient part of the city with the citadel and temple. Um, Also, the city of David. It says very often used by the prophets and poets for Jerusalem itself. You see, so a lot of times when you see Zion, it's like a nickname. You know what I mean, for Jerusalem itself. Um, Another nickname would be the city of David, right? But Jerusalem really already had its name before David took it over, as we went into last when we covered the last chapter. Um, which Yarawah Shalom means the teaching of peace, by the way. That's what Jerusalem means. Let me see here. Right, that's pretty much it. Uh, so yeah, so I just wanted to get that. So we're going back here. All right, Psalms 131. Okay, and verse 2. Sorry, Psalms 137 and 2. All right, it says, we hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof, for there they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, sing us one of the songs of Babylon. Dance, nigga, dance, sing and dance. Basically, um, that's what the Babylonians was like saying. Look, we want to hear the songs, but nobody wants to sing a happy song when you're in captivity. You see, and it says, "House," verse 4. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? You see,
Man,
which you know what I mean. Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we spiritually. That's what we're doing. We're singing that song, in the strange land. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
I said we piping and they not dancing.
Yeah,
We giving you something to dance about.
right. And to be like, well, to be straightforward, singing the song. They were literally they were wanting us to sing, the songs, the hymns that we had sung to the Lord, praising the Lord, while we were being carried away, while we were in Babylon, in the strange land. You're not going to be in a good mood, right? If somebody says be happy, but the temple is destroyed, you're being removed from your home, you're not going to be happy. Okay. And so you can't get into it. Um, and so, but yeah, even in these times, we're singing the new song of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, okay, because the Spirit of the Lord is on us. But going back here to Second Ezra 10, all right, and verse 9, it says, for ask the earth, and she shall tell thee that it is she which ought to mourn for the fall of so many that grow upon her. For out of her came all at the first, and out of her shall all others come. And behold, they walk almost all into destruction, and a multitude of them is utterly rooted out. See, so he like, shit, if anybody should be crying, and he's really making the woman's point, but he doesn't realize who he's talking to. If anybody should be crying, it should be the earth, all right, because everybody that on the earth, all of the ones that come from the land of the earth, all right, eventually end up going into destruction, dying, right? Whole lineage is getting wiped out, right? That's the point he was making here. Verse 11, it says, who then should make more mourning than she that hath lost so great a multitude, and not thou, which art sorry but for one. So again, he doesn't realize that he's making a woman's point. You know what I'm saying? Which is why he's gonna be, well, I don't want to spoil it. I'm gonna just continue reading. But he was very confused after this interaction, I'll say. Verse 12, but if thou sayest unto me, my lamentation is not like the earth's, because I have lost the fruit of my womb, which I brought forth with pains and bear with sorrows. Yeah, like that's what that's why women are so possessive over their children today. Because, oh well, the man, all he did was, he just put the sperm in me, and basically I'm the one that had to carry them for 9 months and had to destroy my body for to bring forth this child. So it's my child, right?
Go on, go get that in Second Maccabees. We ain't gonna play with it.
Which one are you talking about?
Second Maccabees 7
Okay.
with the
Oh,
mother
right.
and her sons. Yeah,
Yeah.
the most womanly the one of the best examples for a woman to follow is to have this type of faith and understanding. Yeah, that's my baby. That's my baby. No. If anything, that's what I'm saying. That nigga you hate so much gave you the best gift of your life. The Lord put the spirit on him to put it up in you. You know what I'm saying? So that my baby, I carried him. That's what I'm saying. You wouldn't have been able to carry shit
Yep.
if it wasn't for the Lord and the man he sent to you. Period. I don't give a fuck how much you don't like your baby daddy. If you claim you love that baby the way you did, you better thank him.
Yeah. Like not to get off topic, but you have a lot of women that say that yeah, I love the baby more than myself and more than my husband. You you can't. You really can't love the baby more than yourself and your husband. You know what I'm saying? Now you make sacrifices for them, you know what I'm saying? But what if your child grows up to be a demon, right? What if your child grows up to be you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
A disobedient, you know what I mean, Negro or whatever. You're still gonna love him more than your husband or more than yourself. You see? So love should be, conditional. But that's
I'll
something
say,
that
even when you think about the women in the scriptures, when you think about Samuel's mother and the women that were barren, that prayed to the Lord to have children, they knew that those children belonged to the Lord.
right.
Yeah, so that whole that no. That's what I'm saying.
Mm.
A sincere woman knows that it wasn't her, it was the man, It was the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and read that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just start here at verse 20. All right. This is Second Maccabees 7 and verse 20. It says, "But the mother was marvelous above all and worthy of honorable memory. For when she saw her 7 sons slain within the space of one day, she bare it with good courage because of the hope that she had in Yahweh Bashem Yahushua."
That's what I'm saying. It didn't mention nothing about their father in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But you could tell that that she followed her husband because she followed the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Whatever happened to the father, but at the end of the day, she understood. She had the mindset of a spiritual woman. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? To the point to where it was described as manly courage. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Go ahead.
Con. All right. It says, verse 21, "Yea, she exhorted every one of them in her own language,
Hebrew.
filled." Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Hebrew.
Yeah.
I don't speak Hebrew, so I'm an English Israelite.
Yeah. That shit's so stupid.
Yeah, well, I say you a American demon is what you
You,
are. Go ahead.
you English muffin.
A
Uh,
Babylonian.
right. It
I'm a
says,
Babylonian Israelite. Nigga, shut your
yeah.
ass up.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It says, "And stirring up her womanish thoughts with a manly stomach, she said unto them, I cannot tell how you came into my womb, for I neither gave you breath nor life, neither was it I that formed the members of every one of you."
That's what I'm
Man,
saying. That's what I'm
this a good
saying.
chapter. Oh yeah.
It takes she had the understanding, you know. But you know, I would say the women under the curses too. So go ahead.
Yeah, damn. Shit. It says verse 23, but that's a heavy, bro. That's a heavy spirit. That's a
Yeah,
heavy spirit to be in. You know
yeah.
what I'm
Especially
saying?
when you got women. I will say, especially when you got women that the high abort rate. You know what I'm
No, man.
saying? You got women. I would say you got women that'll take. You see how she said, "I don't know how you was formed in my womb and how all these things happened."
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, these bitches will tell you, "Well, it's my baby and it's my body and it's my choice." Whoa, that's a whole different spirit right there. You know, you got it.
Shit. Verse 23, it says, "But doubtless the creator of the world, who formed the generation of man and found out the beginning of all things, will also of his own mercy give you breath and life again, as ye now regard not your own selves for his law's sake."
That's what I'm saying. She understood that the Lord was in control. She understood reincarnation. She understood that she wasn't on top. You know what I'm saying? She had that understanding. She had a man's understanding.
Right. Con.
You know what I'm saying? Because the scriptures tell you that the woman was deprived of wisdom. You
Right.
see? Being deprived of wisdom, that wisdom that she's been deprived of is what it takes to please the Heavenly Father. She was given that wisdom. You know?
Yeah. The Lord
Scriptures
allowed
talk
her.
about the elect lady.
Con. That's right. That's right. You know? That's right, man. So I'll just go back here to Second Ezra. Me, I got that in Psalms. Jeremiah hasn't been got yet. All right, cool. Verse back in Second Ezra 10. All right, and verse 13. It says, "But the earth not so, for the multitude present in it, according to the course of the earth, is gone. Excuse me, is gone as it came. Then I say unto you, then I say unto thee, like as thou hast brought forth with labor, even so the earth also hath given her fruit, namely man, ever since the beginning unto him that made her." Okay. Um, Again, the same correlation, like a woman bearing forth a child. All right, the earth pretty much is the what was the word where it said the motherland, and also we got that word mother. Let me get that definition of that word again. Uh, the earth is the source. The source. All right, basically like we come from the earth. You know what I mean? Our physical bodies, these bodies come from the earth. All right. We got earthly bodies. You know what I mean? Everything that we eat, everything that nourishes us, all of our experiences, in this flesh are, on the earth. Right. So,
Yep. And the richest soil of the earth is underground, underwater. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
We were formed from that dust and
right.
pretty much swam up onto the land. You know what I'm saying? When you go into the creation story and how it happened and all those different things. You see?
Hmm.
So that earth, yeah, that earth that matters. You
Yeah.
see? People don't understand that. They think that that at one point in time it was said the Lord made one dude out of a pile of out of a pile of dirt. Like, no, nigga.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Lord formed a pile of dirt and then Adam came up. No, no, no. That's what I'm saying. We were created from that rich soil at the bottom of the ocean, came up out of the waters. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's simulated now for when a baby is born, the before a baby is born, the mother's water breaks. You
Yeah.
see, when you go into how people coming to the earth now versus then, you know what I'm saying? The Lord simulated that through a man shooting his waters into a woman, her water breaks, the child comes forth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's all about those waters. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Go ahead.
that's right. Okay. Verse 15. Um, all right. It says, verse 15, it says, now therefore keep thy sorrow to thyself and bear with a good courage that which hath befallen thee. Okay. For if thou shalt acknowledge the determination of the Most High to be just, thou shalt both receive thy son in time and shalt be commended among women. Okay. So he was basically, he was trying to comfort her, you know, he was trying to comfort her and prevent her from committing. Because basically, you know what I mean? She was basically just like saying, like, I'm going to just be out here and I'm going to just die till I die. So that's you basically committing suicide, right? Um, so it says in verse 17, go thy way then into the city to thine husband. And she said unto me, that will I not do. I will not go into the city, but here will I die. So I proceeded to speak further unto her and said, do not so, but be counseled by me. For how many are the adversities of Zion? All right. For how many are the adversities of Zion? Be comforted in regard of the sorrow of Jerusalem. All right. Meaning, like, you're not the only one going through it. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not the only one going through it. You know what I mean? Like, there's solace, if that's the right word, in knowing that you're not the only one going through something, right? You know, like the sufferings that we go through, you know, we're not the only ones going through them. So it kind of helps us get through it, right? Um, it says, verse 21, for thou seest that our sanctuary is laid waste, our altar broken down, our temple destroyed. Oh, it reminds me of what chapter is that in Kings? Um, we're talking about the still small voice. I think it's in First Kings because Elijah was saying that. Okay, First Kings 19. Let me see here. He fled from. Okay, so I think it's in chapter 18 actually. Um, yeah, yeah. Jezebel had cut off the prophets of the Lord. You know what I mean, and the rest of them had to go and flee, right? And basically, let me see here. Let me scroll down a little bit more. Elijah's prayer. Okay, maybe it is 19. Let me see here. Where he says that everybody was slain. Okay, here we go. This is it right here. Here we go. All right, this is First Kings 19 and 10. It says, and he said, this is what Elijah's speaking, and he said, I've been very jealous of Yahweh Shem Yahweh, the power of hosts, for the children of Israel, and for the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. Right. So it's kind of the same thing that Ezra was saying here. You know, our sanctuary is laid waste, our altar broken down, our temple is destroyed. Even though at this time in 2 Kings 19, the temple was still standing. All right, but you know, still, you know, the prophets of the Lord were being persecuted. But then when you go down to the end of this chapter, basically the Lord the Lord reminds Ezra that you know, he has what in verse 18, 7,000 men in Israel which have not bowed the knee unto Baal. Okay, meaning that he's not alone. Even though Elijah thought that he was alone at that moment, he felt like he was alone. You know what I'm saying? When he talked about it in verse 10, but the Lord answered him and said, no, you're not alone. I still have men that have not bowed unto Baal. Okay, men that are with you, you know what I mean, in your faith. And so that was comforting to Elijah. And then Elijah also got direction in that time. So it just made me think about that. Check here. All right, cool. Going back. Oops. Going back. Make sure my screen share is still good. All right, we're still good. Cool. All right, going back here, verse 21. All right. I read that. Verse 22, it says, our psaltery is laid on the ground. Our song is put to silence. Our rejoicing is at an end. The light of our candlestick is put out. The ark of our covenant is spoiled. Yeah, even the ark of the covenant. Ark of the covenant was, when you go to 2 Maccabees 2, talk about how the ark of the covenant had to be hidden away during the time of Jeremiah, right? Right, 2 Maccabees 2 and 4. Start at verse 1, but we're going to read verse 4. It says, it was also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of the Most High, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him as he went forth into the mountain where Moses climbed up, all right, and saw the heritage of the Most High, which was Mount Horeb. It says, and Jeremiah came thither, and he found an hollow cave wherein he laid the tabernacle. The tabernacle is talking about the Ark of the Covenant. All right, the tabernacle and the ark, I should say, it says it right here, and the ark and the altar of incense, and so stop the door. All right, so that was what the Lord commanded him to do. All right, so the ark of the covenant was removed from the temple before basically, you know, the temple was destroyed, which that's spiritual. You know, it represents how the Lord removed the spirit, you know, from Jerusalem. All right, before the temple was allowed, the physical temple was allowed to be destroyed. Now, all right, this is, you know, these things were, you know, known, right? It says, our holy things are defiled, and the name that is called upon us is almost profaned. Our children are put to shame. Our priests are burnt. Our Levites are gone into captivity. Our virgins are defiled, and our wives ravished. Our righteous men carried away. Our little ones destroyed. Our young men are brought in bondage, and our strong men are become weak. Now, Jake will hear this and think that that has no correlation to today. And if you think that, then you just got demons on you, okay? Because that's the same thing that's going on today. We're still in captivity to this day, okay? You know what I mean? and we're being taken advantage of, all of that. Okay. It says, verse 23, and which is greatest of all, the seal of Zion hath now lost her honor, for she is delivered into the hands of them that hate us. Okay. Everything was given into the hands of the enemies during where's my handy timeline? During the Babylonian, exile. All right. It says the temple was destroyed at 587 BC. You can see that there. 587 BC. Okay. Now let's go back here. Let's see where we at on the time. All right. Let's try to breeze through the rest of this. Verse 25, and it came to pass, while I was talking with her, behold, her face upon a sudden shined exceedingly, and her countenance glistered, so that I was afraid of her and mused what it might be. Okay, so the woman started changing her appearance, right? Something that you've never seen before in real life. A woman's face,
Transfigured.
yeah, being exactly, it starts shining with a bright light. Okay, it's a scary sight if you've ever seen it, which you never have. So of course it'd be scary, right? It says, verse 26, and behold, suddenly she made a great cry, very fearful, so that the earth shook at the noise of the woman. So imagine that shit would be worse than a scary movie. That'd be like you inside the worst version of a scary movie. Here it is, you talking to a woman, you having back and forth dialogue with her, right? You already on a fast, you know what I mean, in the spirit, and then her face just starts shining bright as hell. All right, and she starts screaming and with a bright face, you know what I'm saying, a bright light shining out her face, and as she starts screaming, earthquake comes from the scream. That's like worse than a nightmare. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? If anybody got caught off guard with that, you might just have a heart attack and die, you know. But it says, verse 27, and I looked, and behold, the woman appeared unto me no more, but there was a city builded, and a large place showed itself from the foundations. Then was I afraid, and cried with a loud voice, and said, where is Uriel the angel who came unto me at the first? For he hath caused me to fall into many trances, and mine end is turned unto corruption, and my prayer to rebuke. Right? So he saw the woman get turned into a city, okay? Or he saw the woman, disappear, and where the woman was, there was a city in a large place, right? So he's like, yo, what the hell's going on? Like, am I in reality? Am I dreaming? Like, what's going on? Right? He's calling out for the angel Uriel, like, Uriel, man, yo, this gotta be you, right? Because this shit ain't normal, right? And verse 29, it says, and as I was speaking these words, behold, he came unto me and looked upon me, and lo, I lay as one that had been dead, and mine understanding was taken from me. Yeah, because when you see a bunch of things or you experience something you don't understand, you go into a state of shock. Okay. Again, Ezra was also caught off guard, right? It says, and he took me by the right hand and comforted me, and set me upon my feet, and said unto me, what aileth thee? And why art thou so disquieted? And why is thine understanding troubled in the thoughts of thine heart? And I said, because thou hast forsaken me, and yet I did according to thy words, and I went into the field, and lo, I have seen, and yet see, that I am not able to express. You see, he saw things and experienced things with that situation with that woman just now. He didn't even know how to articulate it in words. Verse 33, and he said unto me, stand up manfully, and I will advise thee. Then said I, speak on, my Lord, in me. Speak on, my Lord, in me. Only forsake me not, lest I die frustrate of my hope. Right? He's like, look, give me this understanding, because I don't got it. Right? Verse 35, for I have seen that I knew not, and hear that I do not know. Or is my sense deceived, or my soul in a dream? right? Sometimes we have dreams that feel real, or you're going through some shit, and when you're in a state of shock, you know, you can like, well, like, damn, is this real? You know what I mean? You wondering, you know, are you dreaming? Right? What's going on? Right? Sense of reality was distorted. It says, now therefore I beseech thee, that thou wilt show thy servant of this vision. He answered me then and said, hear me, and I shall inform thee and tell thee wherefore thou art afraid. For the highest will reveal many secret things unto thee. He hath seen, he hath seen that thy way is right, for thou sorrowest continually for thy people, and makest great lamentation for Zion, which we've seen multiple times, right? Ezra making lamentation, okay, for Israel, right? It says, this therefore is the meaning of the vision which thou lately sawest. Thou sawest a woman mourning, and thou beganest to comfort her. But now seest thou the likeness of the woman no more, but there appeared unto thee a city builded. Okay. And I had one of these precepts. I'm not going to go into it. Uh, I think it was this one here, Isaiah 60. You can, really the whole chapter goes into Zion being glorified. That's ultimately the city being builded up. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, it's going to be builded up, okay, and glorified when on the Lord's time, you know. But I had this precept, but I won't. This really the whole chapter really goes into it. But you can read verses 14, verses 15, you know, verses 16. All right, going back here, it says, let me organize this. All right, verse 43. It says, and whereas she told thee of the death of her son, this is the solution. This woman whom thou sawest is Zion, which we know Zion is a prophetic name for Jerusalem. Okay. And whereas she said unto thee, even she whom thou seest as a city builded, are the same thing. When you saw that city being built up, that's representative of that woman, which is Zion or Jerusalem. Whereas I say, she said unto thee that she had been 30 years barren. Those are the 30 years wherein there was no offering made in her. Okay, again, the time period between the ark, you know, entering into the city of Jerusalem, all right, up until the time where the actual physical temple, all right, was being built. That was a little bit over 30 years. Okay. Um, Solomon constructed it in the fourth year. He started construction in the fourth year of his rule. And we know that David ruled in Jerusalem specifically for 33 years. So it was like 35, 36, 37 years to be exact. But just the 30 years in general, which we went into last time, represents, you know, that period of time, all right, before the temple was built, okay, in Jerusalem. It says, verse 46, but after 30 years, Solomon builded the city and offered offerings, and then bare the barren a son, right? So that son is talking about the actual temple, okay? It says, and whereas she told thee that she nourished him with labor, nourished the temple, all right, ultimately is in a sense nourished the son, which is that nourishing is Israel dwelling in Jerusalem. All right. It says, well, that's what it says, right? That was the dwelling in Jerusalem. Okay. But whereas she said unto thee that my son coming into his marriage chamber happened to have a fail and died, this was the destruction that came to Jerusalem, right? Israel being removed, or the temple being destroyed, you know, Israelites being removed from the city, right? Verse 49, and behold, thou sawest her likeness, and because she mourned for her son, thou beganest to comfort her. And of these things which have chanced, these are to be opened unto thee. Okay, the things that happened, you know, was explained in a you know, a vision or a metaphor, right? Um, all right. It says, for now, verse 50, for now the Most High seeth that thou art grieved unfeignedly, and sufferest from thy whole heart for her, so that he hath showed thee the brightness of her glory and the comeliness of her beauty. So much so to where Ezra wasn't really even moved. He wasn't even moved at the grief that the woman was going through. Because you see somebody going through grief, you have compassion on them, you try to comfort them. You're like, look, ma'am, we all going through it. You know what I mean? Which is symbolic of like how much he truly was grieving for the state of um the state that the Israelites were in at that time. So the Lord showed him the beauty of the built up city again. Okay. It says verse 51, and therefore I bade thee remain in the field where no house was builded, for I knew that the highest would show this unto thee. Yeah, he wanted Ezra to be in an area, wide open area, so he could see the foundations of the city, everything, right? That whole city with no distractions. Okay, after that vision, after that interaction with the woman. Verse 53, therefore I commanded thee to go into the field where no foundation of any building was. For in the place wherein the highest beginneth to show his city, there can no man's building be able to stand. And that lets you know that the Lord is going to destroy uh, really all of the cities that are all that's in the state of, well, I don't want to flag the video, but y'all know what I mean. The whole, there's going to be a demolition, man. It's going to be a complete reconstruction, all right, of everything over there in that landmass, that all the buildings that Esau, Amalek specifically got built up. Okay, the tiny caps, all right, all that shit's going to get uprooted, all right, and the Lord is going to actually allow us to get everything built up from scratch over there. All right, it says verse 55, and therefore fear not, let not thine heart be affrighted, but go thy way in and see the beauty and greatness of the building, as much as thine eyes be able to see. Right. So he basically invited Ezra to go through, what I'm saying, the city, and see like what was in store, what I'm saying, for Israel, you know what I mean, in the form of that building that he saw, that city that he saw built up. All right. Last couple verses. It says, and then shalt thou hear as much as thine ears may comprehend, for thou art blessed above many other, and art called with the highest, and so are but few. Okay, so this is very what they say, esoteric knowledge, within the confinements of a small circle of individuals. All right. The Lord was, the angel of the Lord was letting them know. Okay. He's blessed above many other individuals. That's why he was being seen. That's why he's seeing what he was seeing. All right. Verse 58, it says, but tomorrow at night thou shalt remain here, and so shall the highest show thee visions of the high things, which the Most High will do unto them that dwell upon the earth in the last days.
In the
So I,
last days.
yeah.
You see? Visions in the last days. That's one thing about it. When the Lord sends you a vision, can't nobody tell you didn't see that vision.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got people that'll come up and say, well, the Lord told me this and the Lord told me that. Nah, based on the scriptures, the Lord ain't tell you nothing. You know what I'm saying? He's working through Yahweh and the angels. You see? So at the end of the day, excuse me. Yeah, so at the end of the day, when the Lord is dealing with his men, those men not worried about what nobody else think. What you ain't no prophet. What make you think you a prophet? The Lord, bitch. Yeah. The Lord ordained me to be a prophet when I was in the womb. That's what I believe. That's what we believe. You know what I'm saying? You got it.
Yeah. I'm gonna get a couple precepts and then we can close out because that's the end of the chapter. I just wanted to read through it. I didn't know how long it was gonna take us to do that. So let me get a couple of precepts here. This is Jeremiah 6:26. All right. It says, O daughter of my people, gird thee with sackcloth and wallow thyself in ashes. Make thee mourning as for an only son, most
That's
bitter
what I'm saying. See,
lamentation.
this is what a Hebrew Israelite would do. I don't know
Right.
about them English Israelites and all that other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, boy, you talk about a black eye. That was a low point right there.
Well, the Old Testament was written in Hebrew. That was the language of that's the language of our forefathers. That's the language that Yahweh Shai spoke. Why wouldn't you want to be called a Hebrew Israelite? You
That's
know
what I'm
what I
saying.
mean?
What about the book of Hebrews? What you gonna do with that? Are you gonna discard that because you don't speak Hebrew, even though it's written in English?
Yeah.
Like, man, we ain't finna play with y'all.
Childish. Anyway, uh, which they're just saying that out of spite. There's nothing wrong with saying you're an Israelite, but to
Mm-mm.
intentionally say I'm just an Israelite, I'm not a Hebrew Israelite. They're saying that out of spite, you know, because we call
Yeah, they
ourselves
say they.
Hebrew.
That's what I'm saying. The things they say let you know that the Lord ain't dealing with them, and they don't want the Lord to deal with them. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? They like, we niggas.
yeah,
Yeah, we gonna be Israelite niggas with a Hebrew twist. We gonna be Israelite niggas with a Christianity twist.
hmm,
Yeah, and we gonna confuse the shit out the people until the Lord burn our asses up. That's what they
yeah,
saying. Yeah, that's what they saying. The Lord ain't dealing with us, and we don't care.
yeah,
We finna get this money.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Con. You know, that's what the demons are saying on there on them. So
Yeah, these niggas promoting putting your wife off, making a adulterer. Yeah, if your wife is a heathen, you gotta give kids up to. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Y'all promoting deadbeatism and don't even know it.
crazy work,
You don't
crazy
tell a
work.
man to leave his woman. What kind of shit is that? And fuck them kids too while you at it. And then try to
Yeah,
blame it on Nehemiah. You
yeah.
niggas are fucking Satan.
Con.
Go ahead.
The scriptures and the scriptures say everything we're saying is backed up by the scriptures. The scriptures talk about subverting whole houses. When it says that, that lets you know right there, like there's Israelites that was trying to play what's it called, marriage counselor and all that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? When it's really not, you're not even giving any advice you give on a marriage or anything like that. Whatever happens bad, it's on you because basically you making it something that's really not your responsibility or business. You're making it your business, you know. But anyway,
Meddle not in another man's affairs.
that's it. Um,
And that's a
it says,
commandment.
yeah, Colin, right? Back in Jeremiah 6:26, it says, "Make thee mourning as for an only son, most bitter lamentation." Right. So how that woman was mourning, which represented Jerusalem, for her son. That's how we all should be. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much what Ezra's response was like, man, he was like, man, we all going through it. You know what I'm saying? But you look at Israel today, right? So-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, they don't have that same mourning. Like we brought it out in last night at the Tuesday camp and was that Amos 6? They're not grieved for the affliction of Jacob, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like basically like you see all the shit that we're going through, but just because you got hot water and you got AC and your check engine light not on, right? Or maybe it is, but at least you have a car, right? Like it's like, well, I'm straight. I'm content, I'll say, right? You're not grieved with all the wickedness that's going on in the earth. And even your state as a slave, you're content with it, with that, you know? It shouldn't be like that. It says, "For the spoiler shall suddenly come upon us." Okay, um, and I'll read verses 27 and 28. It says, "I have set thee for a tower and a fortress among my people, that thou mayest know and try their way." All right, that's what the prophets are for, right? It says, "They are all grievous revolters, walking with slanders. They are brass and iron. They are all corrupters." Okay. Again, you tell a nigga, you tell Jake, you tell our people, you try even your own family, You know, you try to tell them about the scriptures. You try to tell your woman, you know, hey, no pork, no blah blah blah. They gonna make their forehead. They gonna make their foreheads hard. All right. That's why to the point where you don't even want to. You don't. We don't talk to our family about the truth because we don't want them to say something that's gonna condemn them even more. You know what I'm saying? Like just leave it alone because you're not gonna have. If you try to get on your family, all right, you're not gonna have. They're not gonna deal with you. It shows you that ultimately they're just in the world. Um, all right, and then the last scripture I'll get is do I want this one or I want an Amos? Yeah, this one's good. It's Amos 8 and 10. All right, it says, and I will turn your feasts into mourning and all your songs into lamentation. Okay, again, this was the state Israel was in, you know, before they were taken over by the Assyrians. All right, they were feasting, turning up, you know what I mean, making sacrifice to idols, Baal, Ashtoreth, you know, Molech. Okay, sacrificing to false gods. Right, it says, and all your songs into lamentations. The Lord said He's gonna turn that feasting, all that partying and all that shit, you know, into sorrow. Okay, all right, and that's coming here too. The Babylon the Great. It says, and I will bring up sackcloth upon all loins. All right, all the fancy garments and all the fashion over and all that shit. Nah, you gonna be in, you're gonna be in drabs. All right. It says, and baldness upon every head. Ain't no more wigs, no more haircuts. Right. It says, and I will make it as the morning of an only son, and the end thereof as a bitter day. You see? And that happened, man. That happened to Israel back then, and it's gonna happen again, which is why when we continue, which we're gonna go into it next, Lord willing, next lesson, in chapter 11, all right, where it talks about the Roman Empire, right, and other things that were gonna happen in the end times. That's why we read Second Ezra 15, Second Ezra 16 so frequently when we're going into prophecy. These are the prophecies that are concerning the end times. Okay, the end times that we are in currently, the last days of the last days. Okay, as it says in verse 59, and I'll close it out on this again, Second Ezra 10 and 59. And so shall the highest show thee visions of the high things, which the Most High will do unto them that dwell upon the earth in the last days. Okay, so you got to understand we are in the last days. If you don't understand that, you definitely don't stand a chance. Okay, it says, so I slept that night and another like as he commanded me. Okay, so that's the end of chapter 10. And that's pretty much all I had, precept wise and everything on that one.
The point was made.
Con. Hey man, so Abaratazah, Lord willing, this was an edifying lesson. All right, with that, we're gonna give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.
Shalom.